Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. Well, some stuff going on. Some interesting dealings here, especially with Micah Parsons. So I want to get caught up on some of the news and notes and whatnot. Do have Vikings Bears, but that's going to be later, so I don't expect to be doing. Hopefully, I'm not doing the podcast. That's 7 hours from now. That would be an extraordinary amount of procrastination on my part, but not impossible. But I don't expect to have any thoughts or insights on that because hopefully I have not seen it by the time this is done. But yeah, for the listening audience on Saturday noon. Lions-Texans, Packers at 3 o'clock. We'll go over that game tomorrow. A couple different things for the news and notes. The Vikings apparently have inquired about getting Adam Thielen back. I'm pretty sure Thielen is 64 years old, if I'm not mistaken, roughly 64 years old. But the Vikings, much like a lot of teams right now, their wide receiver core is pretty decimated. Some of it short-term, some of it long-term, but obviously it's enough to where they're seriously inquiring about bringing some people back. Thielen, I mean, look, in general, you know how I feel about the Vikings, constantly bringing in old guys. This might be a slightly different situation where, we need somebody that we can just plug in quickly. Thielen would know the offense well enough to be able to come in, operate as a patchwork until we get some of our guys back, and then we can move on. But still, I can't help but chuckle as the Vikings just continue to go in this direction. No deal is done yet, but it sounds pretty strong. But as of right now, looking at their wide receiver group, Jordan Addison is suspended for the first 3 games. We've talked about that already. It's due to a 2024 DUI, reckless conviction. Jalen Naylor right now is dealing with a hand injury considered week to week, which, day to day you feel good about week 1. Week to week, you assume he's probably going to be out, a little bit of time. Justin Jefferson just returned. We talked about that. He had a hamstring strain. He'd been out for quite a while. They do expect him to be ready for week 1, although he's not expected to participate much throughout the rest of the offseason, at least as not as far as anybody else can see. Rondale Moore was put on injured reserve after suffering a knee injury, and so they're left with guys like rookie Ty Felton, who I just talked about him recently, where it's like it looks like Ty Felton is going to be relegated to special teams. Well, that clearly is no longer the case, because week 1 you're looking at a possibly hobbled Justin Jefferson with I don't know what. So it's going to be a rough group, and again, I think the Vikings are looking at it and saying, we just need somebody to get us through at least the first 3 weeks. We have to assume Naylor, if he's not ready to go week 1, will be back soon. So you're looking at, hopefully by week 4, Addison is back, Naylor is back, Jefferson's completely healthy, and we're pretty much at full strength. I mean, it's always been a team that kind of had 2 receivers and then a pretty big drop-off. I'm sure they were hoping guys like Ty Felton and whatnot could become something, but I think that's the thought process. But it's obviously good news for us that, first of all, we're not alone in this, but second of all, the Vikings, who we need to overtake, are kind of scrambling to make sure that they can get through the first several weeks because they just don't have a wide receiver group. I mean, if Justin Jefferson's there, you're probably fine, but you got not a rookie quarterback, but a guy that's never played quarterback in the NFL as a starter. We got some new guys up front on the offensive line. We really could use some veteran people in here to help the guy out. You got Aaron Jones, you got the tight end, you got a couple established things here, and maybe, again, Justin Jefferson will be enough, but it's pretty shaky. So we'll see how that pans out with the Vikings in their receiver situation. If they do end up getting Thielen, again, I think it would be quite funny. It was Adam Schefter that reported Vikings have inquired about trading for wide receiver Adam Thielen. The other thing that's funny about it, it's not going to cost them hardly anything. But the fact of the matter is this is a very old team, and when you're an old team or a team that doesn't have cap space or any of those types of things, you need to covet draft picks, right? It's not about cap space. Well, it depends on if it's a age thing or whatever, but it's draft picks because you need to get younger. And so trading away any amount of compensation for a guy well into his 30s to patch up a couple weeks for you, it might be the right decision. It might be good enough to kind of get you through those first 4 weeks, which will catapult you into the playoffs, which will sail you in to and through the Super Bowl. But it's still the exact opposite direction that you should be going. He says, inquiring about trading for Adam Thielen per league sources. Wide receiver Addison, 3-game suspension. Naylor, hand injury. Thielen could wind up starting opening night for the Vikings if they can complete the trade. Thielen is 35 years old. He played 10 games with Carolina last year. He caught 48 passes for 615 yards, 5 touchdowns, 12.8 yards per reception. Not bad for a 34-year-old, but, you know, I'm all for it. I hope they can complete a trade. I don't care if it's a 2027 7th. I'm still going to laugh at you for that. Donovan Peoples-Jones, which is still one of the funniest names ever to me. Sounds like a guy with, for some reason, a speech impediment in my mind. Donovan Peoples-Jones. I don't know why. That's how I hear it in my head every single time I say it. But with Devon Vele going to the Saints for an absurd price, the Saints have cut Donovan Peoples-Jones. So if you're a fan of that guy, you go ahead and hope that we go get him, I guess. I don't know. Fans want weird things sometimes. 49ers, who are also completely decimated with injuries as far as playmakers are concerned, they made a trade with the Washington Commanders to go get running back, Brian Robinson. Adam Schefter trade. Commanders are trading running back Brian Robinson to the 49ers in exchange for a 2026 6th-round pick, sources tell ESPN. Again, as a person who does not like the 49ers at all, I'm in favor of this. The fact that they are in desperation mode and had to expend a 6th-round pick to patch up injuries is a good. It's just a good thing. Now, Washington, who are a team that we're going to have to pay attention to, I think, for a long time, benefited from this. But watching the continued downfall of the 49ers, who might have a good year this year, who knows? They seem to be very up and down. They have this weird thing where they have a random bad year, and then they stock up on players with those good picks, and then they come back as a powerhouse for about 2-3 years, don't win a Super Bowl, and then do that thing where they suck again. So it's not massive compensation, and it's one of those things during the season you don't care, but you end up caring as the draft rolls around, and you're like, wait, why do we only have 6 freaking picks? Dude, this sucks. Oh, for that running back that did nothing for us. Oh, great, wonderful. Thanks a lot, great and powerful GM. By the way, haven't talked enough about this, but part of the reason that a lot of these trades are going down and things seem to be at a fever pitch is because we're creeping up on the 53 deadline. That is this upcoming Tuesday. So it's going to be after this preseason game. We're going to cover the preseason game, and then it's hardcore, hot and heavy, 53 cut down talk until and on. I might even be live, whether it's streaming. Actually, you know what I just realized? A couple things, real quick. Sidebar. Patreon.com/pack_daddies, where you can support the podcast for as little as $1 per month. So I've been talking a lot about the website I've been working on. If you're at all curious, it is NFL draft related. If you're a fan of that, I put it over on Patreon for everybody. So even if you're a free subscriber, you can see it. Just kind of a little sneak peek for those over there. But also, while I was doing that, I saw that they now have live streaming capabilities. So I can go live on Patreon. I might do that. I've been saying for a while, I've been trying to think of ways to give back to Patreon. I'm very sparse here and there. It almost seems to make no impact whatsoever. In fact, I think I lose money whenever I post over there because it just reminds people they're donating to me and they're like, I don't know why I'm doing this. But still, for those of you that are loyal, that have been sticking around, that have been supporting this podcast, many of you for several years, trying not to focus on the couple that, leave and focus on the loyalists, I want to be able to give back to you. So I'm contemplating maybe doing some kind of a live on Patreon exclusively. Maybe for the 53 cutdown, that would be a good time to kind of experiment with that. It's going to be at a weird time. It's going to be when I think a lot of people are at work. It's on a Tuesday. Usually the cutdowns are like NFL time, so like 3 o'clock-ish, somewhere in there. But might give it a shot, and if we can kind of ramp that up, maybe we'll do that. We can start doing some streams maybe during games and all that kind of stuff instead of the YouTube channel. And on X, I'll do it exclusively on Patreon, possibly. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Again, if I do it and 2 people are there, probably not super worth my time. But and more than that, it's just means people don't actually want it and they don't care. So what am I doing? So just a thought. I think that's it for some of the more minor news. Why don't we actually take a break here since we're creeping up on the 33% mark. When we come back, we got to dive in again. I'm so sorry on the Micah Parsons thing. I don't want to have to keep doing this, but there's always newer and bigger things happening. So we're going to talk about it. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Part of the reason this has been so disappointing isn't that, well, the Packers didn't get them. It's that nobody got them. If these guys ended up actually getting traded in blockbuster trades and it didn't end up being the Packers, it would still make it worthwhile because big things are happening and maybe we'll get the next one. But the fact of the matter is, Max Crosby, right? We talked about Max Crosby, and it sounded like he was leaving. He stayed. And then it was Myles Garrett. Oh boy, it's starting to heat up with Myles Garrett. It sounds like he didn't even say goodbye to Cleveland Browns fans. That was like a done deal. He stayed. Bosa for like 5 minutes was a thing. He stayed. Hendricks is a thing. We'll see. Probably going to stay. If he doesn't, not going to the Packers, so it doesn't matter. And now we got Micah Parsons, and it's reaching a point where it's like I don't want to have to do this, but I mean it's if nothing else, it's drama and it's interesting. It is juicy man drama. So as we know, as of the last time we talked, yesterday, Jerry Jones is an idiot, and Micah Parsons is upset with all the games, and he wants to get a lot of money. And Jerry Jones is, he's just bad at this. He drags things on too long, and then the price goes up too much, and he thinks he's a great, he plays himself up to be a great negotiator, a real tough negotiator. The problem is time is of the essence here. This isn't just some one-off deal where there's no confounding factors around the rest of the NFL. The fact of the matter is you're playing hardball, and as you're doing that, other guys are signing for more and more and more and more money, and the price just keeps going up, and then you're going to end up paying it, and you're going to pay the higher price. And you keep falling into that, and I don't know why you think that makes you some kind of a great negotiator. He's living in a time where he's still this great oil mogul who makes deals on handshakes and stuff out in the oil fields. It's like, bro, you have been a owner of a football team for longer than I've been alive, I think, roughly. I don't know exactly when he bought the Cowboys, but you should understand this by now. And so he wants to play games, and it's backfiring. And so they're both kind of playing games. Jerry Jones his game is he's playing the media. He's going to go out, he's going to play the media and try to turn public perception against Micah Parsons. He's doing a terrible job of that, but that's his play. He's doing the media rounds. He doesn't have to do these interviews. He doesn't have to go to some of the biggest sports media stars like Stephen A. Smith. He doesn't do anything he doesn't want to do. He's Jerry freaking Jones. So if he's on Stephen A. Smith, it's because he wants to, because he thinks it's a good tactical decision. Micah Parsons is playing a different game. He's playing the, I'm done, goodbye, see you later, Dallas Cowboys fans. It was so nice. I wanted to stay, but they ruined it. It's both sides trying to put maximal pressure on the other. And they're trying to plead their case, essentially, to the fans, to the media, to everybody else, that the other guy is the bad guy to try to get them to fold. Well, here's the first, and I don't know how many different media things he's done, but here's the first one that I saw. He's doing Michael Irvin's podcast. Obviously, these two go back quite a ways. Why are you so stupid? Give me a second here. All right, so here was the first one that I saw. This is Jerry Jones, and he's talking about this situation with Michael Irvin.
I have agreed to give more money than has ever been given in terms of guaranteed money than anyone ever has as far as a defensive player.
So again, he's playing the angle. There's always positive, and it's like when somebody gets a contract and the agent comes out and they portray it in the most beautiful terms, and then you got to kind of sift through and see what the real contract is. So he's pointing out the high, and that's a good one. I mean, it's hard to fake that one. Most guaranteed money. I don't know exactly what that means that anyone has tried to give, like at any position, at his position. What are we talking about here? But again, he's saying, look, I've done my job. I offered him X amount of money, so I win.
I've done that. Now I am the cat that writes the check. Okay. Now Micah's got 3 years with the Cowboys left. He's got 3 years. At some point, somebody has to have the say over the other. At some point, it has to be that way. My job is managing the check. Okay. Micah's got to do the playing. Where's the least important part of this whole equation we're talking about? What is the least incremental part of the whole equation? The attorney or the agent?
And this is the big hang up here. I don't disagree that ultimately he's like, look, you got 3 years left. You want to do something, I'll try to do you a favor. Here's an option, etc. Do you like it or not? And I think it's coming up, but essentially he's saying, look, I offered a great contract. Micah said he liked it. He agreed to it. The agent is butting in and doing all these things. To say that, like, I'm the guy that writes the checks, he's the guy that plays, and agents don't play a role, that's completely untrue. The player needs oftentimes representation because they don't understand this side. They don't understand all of this negotiating and making sure the contract is in their best interest. So it does make sense for the player to essentially say, look, when it comes to playing, I'm on the field, I do my thing, and the coaches work with that and all that kind of stuff. And just like you leave your coaches to figure that part out, I leave you and my agent to figure out the financial side. He's trying to go around the agent and be like, don't listen to this guy. Now, if I'm a player and my owner wants to come to me and say, what do you think about this? Isn't this great? Isn't this great? He's like, it sounds great, man. Talk to my agent, though. And he's like, no, we don't need that guy. We don't need that guy. Don't worry. I'm the one that has to pay a percentage. What are you worried about? Why won't you go talk to him? It sounds to me like you're trying to screw me. And if you're not, if it's a great contract, there's no reason my agent, who gets a big cut, would say no. So why are you doing this?
Okay. He works for Micah. Okay.
Yeah.
He's not the principal here. And
he works for Micah, but he represents Micah. He's making it sound like, well, he works for Micah. So if Micah says yes, then it's yes. No, he doesn't say yes. He says, sounds good, but I don't know what I'm talking about. Talk to my agent.
Way. In any way. They're in here to make their percentage.
Yes.
They're in here to basically, yes, advise Micah.
Yes.
Advise Micah.
It's important.
Come over to the office and I'll show you exactly what I offered Micah. We got it in the back. It's with all written down, everything to go.
Great.
Come down and look at that.
I'm going to get over there and see that.
You can sure look at it. You can sure absolutely look at it. Here's my entire point. Entire point. Who is it that basically says this is ultimately recognizing we're trying to come together for an agreement, but absolutely, who is it that can go with it? And so the facts are, I don't know that I've ever been around. I've never tried to buy anything. I've never tried to do anything that I actually was going to bring all of the services and somebody else was going to do all the money. But because the in-between guy wasn't exactly the guy that I had fit there, that kept you from doing the deal. Right. That's exactly what's happening here.
Yeah, that's completely normal. And again, under different circumstances, if you're a businessman, you go talk to another businessman and you guys shake hands, that's fine. There's no intermediary. Yes, because you're the subject matter expert talking to the other subject matter expert. This is a very simple thing. And he's not this stupid. He's not this senile. He fully understands the situation. And he's trying to make it sound like Micah is a victim here, that I offered him this great contract and Micah loves it and he thinks it's great. And then the agent comes in and is like, no, you just said, as a way of condescending to the agents, that they're just here to earn their percentage. If that was the case, why wouldn't he just sign on the dotted line and get his percentage? Maybe he's actually trying to protect his client, because you can absolutely, as an agent, work behind the scenes and be like, let's work out a deal that works for the team and the agent and not the player. And that's easy. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's happened. Some unethical agents who have found that have worked with teams, and I mean, everybody wins in the end. I mean, the player's going to get a lot of money, but maybe it's just structured such a way that it's a high percentage goes to the guy, but maybe not a ton of guarantees to the player or something. As long as I get my percentage of the total contract or however that's structured, I don't know. But this is such a silly sales pitch to me where, listen, I'm with Jerry that you hold the keys, dude. It's up to you. And if you want to walk away from the table, you have every right to do that. And I agree with that. I don't agree with the idea that you just refuse to work with the agent. And this guy's just a big jerk. And it's a great contract. And he just keeps saying no. And I'm trying to talk to Micah. And Micah's, he's over there. And he won't even, this evil man won't even let him answer his phone. And it's just this terrible thing. Bro, just talk to the agent. Just talk to him. You have to make it work. That's the whole point. And look, the Packers have agents they don't like to work with. I think we've kind of established that. There's some guys that are not great to work with. I get that. And maybe the agent is kind of a douchebag and he's trying to ask for too much. Maybe. But you still don't try to go around the agent. You can go head on with the agent, but I don't like the fact that your whole sales pitch here is I'm trying to get around this guy to go talk to Micah and he just keeps getting in the way.
So many times in this industry, you have a different agenda going on with agents. A different agenda. They're playing a game. You tell me, are agents incentivized to not only get the most of that player, but they're trying to get what? They're trying to get other players because they got a high agenda for that player.
Right.
That's their incentive. Okay. Attorneys, exactly the very same way. And as you know, I do a lot of business. I do a lot of business straight with the principals, not with the attorneys. I do my time when the deal gets done face to face with the principal, not with the attorneys.
Right.
Not with the agents. So I'm just saying that nobody appreciates Micah Parsons any more than the Cowboys or me. Nobody has ever offered him more money than I have and played football.
Well, that makes sense considering he's on your team, but yeah, go on.
Right. Period.
Oh, I don't know why the Packers would offer him like, hey, we want to offer you a contract. Like, bro, I'm under contract with oh, okay. I just wanted you to know we care more than the Cowboys do, and this is what we would have paid you if you were on our team. So just throwing it out there randomly. All right, that was the full clip, but that's not even what I was looking for here. Hold on. Well, I guess that's good enough. Shut up. The other part that I wanted to play, Nick Harris kind of bullet pointed a couple things. Clip of Jerry Jones explaining the situation, offered him the most guaranteed money of any defensive player in NFL history, confirming a Star Telegram report from August 3rd. Implies that he is prepared to tag him in 26 and 27. That's also a good point that I have that amount of leverage. It also makes sense that the Micah Parsons camp is playing hardball because they know that the Cowboys have that amount of leverage. And that's probably why this is a losing battle. The Cowboys are like, here's a great offer. I don't want that. I want more. Okay, well then we're just going to let you ride it out. You're going to play and you're going to get tagged. And so they play this game where it's like, I'm leaving. I'm getting rid of all my social media. I'm doing all these things to hope that the Cowboys panic and are like, fine, I'll give it to you. There really is no leverage here from Micah Parsons. There really is none. David Mulligetta apparently is the agent. I guess I did know that. I forgot that, though. I think the Packers like Mulligetta. There was the Rodgers guy. I forget his Dunn, is it? It seemed like the Packers didn't like that agent. They seem to be working really well with Mulligetta. I'm sure it's just different approaches, maybe the way that they structure contracts or like to do business. It's just different strokes for different folks kind of thing. I don't know. But apparently, the Cowboys sent the offer to Mulligetta, and Mulligetta told him to stick it up his you-know-what. So he's not a fan of the contract for whatever reason. Could be years, could be total money. It doesn't sound like it's guarantees, but maybe, I don't know. Now, that interview was followed up by this interview, which is him with Stephen A. Smith.
In the spirit of not doing the old mother-dad deal, how many times have you seen the Little Rascal soap?
I'll be honest, I don't understand what he's even talking about here. I mean, I do as far as the analogy, but how that applies to the situation, I have no idea.
Clever, go in there, and Mama told him, you're not going to get it. And goes in to Daddy, who only sees him after 5 in the afternoon, wants to love him, and says, you can have it, son. You can have that before dinner. And he goes back in and says, Mama, Daddy said I could have it.
By the way, I hate that so much, bro. You're freaking dead. The answer's no, and for going behind my back, you're gonna get yourself in some trouble here.
Tell mom, dad, been around since the beginning of time. I'm not gonna go for that here. That's what's happening.
You're not going for it.
I'm not going for it. No.
What I'm trying to figure, I'm stupid, right? I don't understand. Who's going behind whose back here? I'm the only thing I could think is it's kind of like a reverse mom-dad thing here, where it's like Micah was fine with the contract, then went to the agent said no, and he comes back to him and then says no. It's kind of like a reverse thing. It's the only thing I can think. We had a deal, everything was fine, then he went to talk to dad, the agent, and the agent was like, no, that we're not doing that, and then he came back and said, never mind, I want more money. Otherwise I don't know what we're talking about here.
Oh, no, but we've had a very, very strong negotiation. Now, by the way, frankly, it wouldn't have made any difference what the negotiation was. Guess who has to be comfortable for this to work?
Micah.
And who else?
You.
Hello. There's not room for a third. There's not room for a third. This will be a good one.
Okay, so that's entirely true. The problem is Micah's comfort is tied to the agent. Unless I'm completely misreading this, which I'm not, in which Micah actually is like, please let me take it. And the agent's like, no, I have full control of everything you do. He can fire the agent anytime. He can sign whatever piece of paper he wants. Jerry Jones seems to be upset because he talked to Micah Parsons in person, which seems in and of itself unethical, to say, hey, man, since I got you here, like hitting him up after practice when his agent isn't around, like, come on up to the office, sells him on this thing, and Micah's just kind of like, yeah, dude, that sounds awesome. That would be great. And Jerry's like, okay, it sounds like we got a deal. The agent, who, by the way, when he said, stick it up your you-know-what, part of the reason he's probably furious is because this guy's trying to get his agent, his client, to sign a contract without the agent knowing about it, and he's furious. This is one of, if not his biggest client. I mean, Mulligetta's got, I think he has Lamar too, so it's one of his biggest. Well, actually, Lamar doesn't have an agent, does he? I don't know, but he's got massive clients. This is still one of his biggest, if not his biggest client. He needs to handle this very well, and this needs to go very well. And I'm sure Jerry is correct in terms of, the agent has other motivation. I mean, these guys are chain movers. These guys will completely transform the landscape of a lot of your other clients. So how you handle these is important. But it's still ultimately about him. And so, yeah, that would infuriate me if you're trying to sneak around and get my guy to sign a contract without me knowing about it. Yeah, I'd be furious. And the fact of the matter is, the reason I'm saying that I know that Micah is not trying or desperate to sign this contract except for his agent is the fact that Micah is going along with what the agent is saying. Micah Parsons has ripped down all Dallas Cowboys stuff from his social media. And this is becoming like 101 nonsense. It doesn't mean anything. But again, it's a PR battle. Jerry Jones is going out trying to do his best in the PR front. I think it's going terribly because he's essentially going out there saying, I'm trying to go behind Mulligetta's back and he keeps not letting me. That's his whole sales pitch, which is insane. Aside from, we're offering him a ton of money and they're just not accepting it, which is a better sales pitch. But fans don't care about your money. I think that's stupid and they should care about the money, but fans don't. They just want you to pay whatever to make the guy happy. So even that's kind of a tough sell, but it's the best one you got. Stop leaning into the Mulligetta keeps getting in my way of trying to do a deal behind his back. The only two people that matter are me and him and not the agent. That's not true. And by the way, if Micah matters in this equation, then the agent matters by extension because he is the representation in these matters. He can't have his own opinion on these things. His opinion is tied to the agent. I mean, he can if he wants to. He chooses not to. He chose to have representation as opposed to saying, I can do this by myself, which is a wise decision, especially if you're working with Jerry Jones, apparently. This guy sounds like a snake. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's a great contract, but again, just give it to Mulligetta then. I mean, look, it's as far as I can tell, this is simple. And it doesn't even need to get this ugly. And I wish Jerry would just be more upfront with the situation about what I had said before. I mean, I wish. What do I care? It's Dallas. But I feel like if I was handling this situation, it would be very straightforward. Say what you said. He's got 3 years left. We don't have to get a deal done. But we're willing to get a deal done because he means so much to this organization. And that's why we offered him a contract that is the biggest contract for any defensive player in the history of the NFL, including guarantees, not some fluff nonsense contract. Mulligetta wants to play hardball. He wants to do all these great and wonderful things. And look, we're just not doing that. We offered him more than enough in an extension when we don't need to, and they said no. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the end of it. If you're not willing to do it, then you come back to work. You will play for us. He's not being traded. That will not happen. He's going to come back and play, and we can resume negotiations after this season. Of course, if he ends up getting hurt, David Mulligetta will have done a massive disservice to his client. We want to take care of him. We want to do it today. He's worth it today. We want to give him this contract. Mulligetta wants to play games. That's fine. We don't need to do that. And if he wants to play hardball all the way through, I mean, we got tags for 2 years. So this isn't on us. We're more than willing to go above and beyond what we need to do to take care of Micah and his family and his future. But if Mulligetta doesn't want to do that, then we won't do that. But he's not leaving. He will not be traded. I've received calls from every NFL team, and I've hung up on every single one of them. It's not happening. That's it. That's the whole thing. Instead, we play these stupid games where Jerry Jones goes out, makes himself look like the bad guy. Micah continues to play the game where he's going to leave, and I guess I'm leaving, and I got to go. And so he does what is always the first step. Well, sometimes the first step is some little cryptic tweet or some kind of nonsense like that. But the first semi-big step, which it's been done so many times to no effect, it shouldn't mean much anymore, but he wiped his social media of all Dallas Cowboys stuff. Any reference to the Cowboys is off his social media. Apparently shared a highlight video set to an assertive Allen Iverson clip, which signals a possible farewell, something to that effect. I mean, it's all, again, I'm hinting that I'm leaving. It's over. Goodbye. There is, by the way, also apparently an official trade request, which is another step in this process of saying I'm for real, is for Micah to actually say I'm formally requesting a trade. So, I don't know. I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think that they're going to play the franchise tag game. That would be a pretty vicious thing coming off a rookie contract. The guy is, he's in the, I think, final year of his actual rookie deal. So it's the 3 years would be final year plus 2. I just said it 3 times. Why can I not think of it? Whatever. 2 of those things, which again would be a particularly vicious thing because guys like him, or anybody, at this point, you get your first big contract, and you don't want to delay that. But again, they can. Why don't we take a break? When we come back, I want to take a hard look at the reality, which I've kind of been hinting all along, but the reality of the situation as far as him coming to Green Bay and the likelihood of that, or at least from my perspective. Not that I know what's going to happen, but we'll take a break. We'll be right back. So here's the situation. I've always said, people can be biased all they want when they're on social media, when they're here, when they're there, when they're wherever. But when it comes to putting money down, there's a reason why, if you go listen to some biased Bears person about the Bears record, they're going to be massively off because it doesn't mean anything, which is kind of shocking considering their entire career is based on the words that they say, and they just so flippantly don't care about what the words are that they say. But it doesn't seem to hurt them very much. They're allowed to be biased idiots and say stupid things and still have a career. But they don't put their money down, and if they do, they end up losing it. And most people don't want to do that. And in the aggregate, you end up with a number that kind of makes sense. The reason I bring all this up is when all this flurry happened, the first thing I wanted to do is run off to Polymarket and see where people are putting their money on this situation. When things happen, there's always going to be kind of spikes. So you can see that with Micah Parsons as well. There was a giant spike. Let's see, when was this? August 19th at 1 p.m. Something must have happened. It shot up to a 31% chance that he's going to end up being traded, but it came immediately back down. And so there has been sort of this level floor here that, again, it spikes and then it gets right back to this normal level. Because what happens is some people come in, don't know what the heck they're doing, throw a bunch of money down because something happens. It changes the price point to where it makes sense to buy, no, it's not going to happen if you believe it's not going to happen. And so it ends up resetting back to where it should be. There was another spike, probably because of all the Stephen A stuff that happened, went up to 35%, and it's plummeting back down. It's at 14%, which is still extremely high. This is normally sitting at about, it keeps trending down, but let's call it 10%, 9, 10%, 8%, whatever. I think it's going to continue to trend downward, but let's just say 14%. 14% chance that he will leave the Cowboys before week 1. 14%. If you divide that by 31 other teams, that means that all things being equal, the Packers have about a 0.5% chance, 0.45%. Even if you say that the Packers have a 100% better chance than average because of the ties, because of the need, because of the ability with the picks and the money and the cap space and all that, there is compared to the average, they're 100%. It still puts them at under 1% chance. And the fact of the matter, you can say you don't really believe the Micah, poly market thing. It doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter is, it's not a 50% chance that he leaves. It's not a 40% chance. It's not a 30% chance that he leaves. It is very heavily in favor of the fact that he's going to stay a Dallas Cowboy, and I think everybody understands that. Because you have two major options. One is that he signs with the team that he's on, which is very likely. Two, which is also, one of these two is the most likely, the other is the second most likely. They don't get a deal done, and he still plays for the Cowboys, and they work out a deal this next offseason, and they will get a deal done. Those are by far the most likely options. The Dallas Cowboys allowing Micah Parsons to leave would be the most insane thing. Let me hit up the robots here and see if they can come up with a single comparable situation. One of the best pass rushers in football on his rookie contract. I guess, let's see, Khalil Mack was technically never got his second contract. I didn't realize that. He wasn't his fifth-year option. So he was beyond the 4 years, but he never got his second contract. He wanted record-setting money. Raiders didn't want to pay. The result was Raiders traded him to the Bears for blah, 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 blah. So that one is kind of similar. I do think that it's also very different, though, when you look at, the Raiders were being stupid. They also gave away Amari Cooper. Remember that? It was Gruden, I think, came in and just traded everybody away. He wanted to start fresh and all this stuff. He gave away their only good players, and it was a freaking disaster. Let's see, Jalen Ramsey was on his fifth-year option, contract issues plus team drama, shipped to LA for 2 firsts and a fourth. Jamal Adams of the Jets went to the Seahawks. Says safety is not quite a premium position like edge or quarterback, but a high-impact player. They had a contract fight. Adams demanded to be the highest-paid safety. Jets dealt him to Seattle for 2 firsts and a third. Stephon Diggs with the Vikings, again, that was kind of a situation where the Vikings really didn't like him and he didn't like the Vikings, although that seems to be the exact situation that we're dealing with here, I guess. Diggs wanted a new deal, plus out of Minnesota. He had just signed an extension, so technically not his rookie deal, but similar. And then Tyreek Hill, that wasn't his rookie deal, was it? Yeah, he was already past his rookie deal, but he just wanted more money and he got signed, so that one doesn't count. But I guess Khalil would be the closest situation. I do think it's different. Look, it wouldn't be unprecedented. It wouldn't be impossible. The Cowboys do have, financial issues, and their owner is freaking weird, but I can't imagine that they would let him walk. Let's do a little bit more digging here. So here are some guys that Jerry let walk over contract disputes. DeMarcus Ware in 2014, that guy was like 500 years old, but that was why I remember that. DeMarcus Ware was a beast. He was an absolute monster, and I think the defense was still really bad, and they let him walk, and I said this is going to be the worst defense in football. Somehow they actually got better, but he was cut after refusing a pay cut while still playing at a high level. Denver signed him, and he went on to win a Super Bowl. DeMarco Murray led the NFL in rushing in 2014, wanted a big payday. Cowboys lowballed him, signed with the Eagles. Byron Jones was a cornerback, Pro Bowl cornerback in 2020. Cowboys wouldn't meet top cornerback market price. Miami made him the highest paid corner. Jerry walked away, trusted in Trevon Diggs. the draft pick instead. And then Amari Cooper was wide receiver 1 at the time. Contract was too rich. Cowboys wanted cap flexibility, traded him to Cleveland. I mean, obviously none of these are at that level, but those are a little bit more recent. There's also Emmitt Smith, 1993. Oh, these are the guys that he did pay. I was like, he was still there after 93. Held out the first 2 games of the season. Jerry held firm. Cowboys lost both games. He caved and made Emmitt the highest paid running back. They won the Super Bowl that year. That's interesting. Ezekiel Elliott, 2019, running back, held out at camp. Jerry grumbled publicly, but ultimately caved, paid him $90 million, and regretted it. That's also interesting. Some of this stuff is going to stick out in his mind. Dak Prescott, 2021, long, ugly standoff. Jerry tagged him twice, then finally gave in with a 4-year, $160 million deal. Des Bryant in 2015 threatened to hold out, was tagged. Jerry gave him a huge deal right before the deadline. The pattern with Jerry seems to be with premium positions, he will usually pay. Quarterbacks, wide receiver 1s, and elite pass rushers eventually. Running backs historically lets them walk or regrets paying them. Corners and secondary player rarely pays top of market. Byron Jones even let go of early cornerback talent before Diggs and Gilmore. Cap management, Jerry loves his stars, but he's not afraid to let them go if he thinks the roster can reload. There's no way. Says Parsons is a premium franchise-defining edge defender. Only parallel in Jerry's history is DeMarcus Ware, but that was age plus cap, not prime years. Given Jerry's history with icons like Emmitt, Dak, Zeke, and Dez, he usually pays up when it's someone he views as the face of the franchise. So, and I think that's exactly right. I mean, and you saw the examples. He will make a public scene. He will kick and scream and whine and cry and flail. And this is probably what Mulligetta's looking at. He knows this game. He knows Jerry. He's going to go on TV. He's going to make a scene. He's going to freak out. He's going to do all these things. He's going to huff and puff and scream and throw things. But he's going to pay. A lot of these things do get ugly, but he'll pay. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. If you're on Poly Market and you see this thing spike because of something, go ahead and buy the no. Actually, don't listen to my financial advice. I don't need people losing money because of me, unless you're donating it directly to me so I can go make some meat. Please do not lose money on my account. But anyways, it's a very long way of saying this we're watching a game. We're watching a game in which I think everybody kind of knows how this is going to go. Everybody understands that this is a game, this is a dance that's taking place in which the Cowboys are eventually going to pay the guy. Because that's what you do. He's the most talented, one of the most talented pass rushers in the entire NFL. He is franchise defining for a franchise that is struggling right now to maintain its relevance. He is in the final year, I believe, of his contract. I don't think that includes fifth year. I don't know. I don't think so. I haven't looked at it. I don't really care. I would assume they would have taken his option. But they know he's going to pay. And so Mulligetta is probably squeezing because he knows he's going to pay. And he wants it to hurt as much as is humanly possible. But at the end of the day, what is it, folks? Say it with me. He's going to pay. All right, that all took way longer than I was expecting, but that's fine. That's what we did today. Again, we'll cover the Packers and the game, and then after that, the plan is going to be 53-man roster. Looking forward to that. I don't usually do a good job at predicting, but it is fun to kind of go through and start looking pretty heavily at that. But I'm going to leave it at that. Talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.